How much do you really need? So I talk about this a lot in terms of writing is how much content do you really need? How many words, how many pages do you really need to say something? Um, Stephen King had a fun exercise in his book that on writing. On Writing, a memoir of the craft by Stephen King is an excellent book about writing. It's also a good memoir of a little bit of his life and how he got started in writing. And he has a great exercise where he talks about handing in a piece of writing to a teacher or a mentor, and the mentor crosses out a bunch of stuff and explains to him why those things specifically got cut. And it's a really, really good it was a light bulb moment for Stephen King of like, oh, if you just cut out all the chaff here, then you have a really nice streamlined story. Makes it much easier to read. So I talk about this in terms of writing your marketing content as well, because the shorter it is, A, people don't have a lot of time. Yes, we are engaged in stories. Yes, we love the stories, but we're not going to spend a ton of time with it. We still want to get to the heart of, okay, what is this? What's the point here? What's the information that I need to know so I can take it, run, get on with my day? And this really hit home for me. Recently, I was on a boat sailing around the Caribbean with some friends of mine, and it was a big boat, but also there were five of us, right? So we quickly realized because we're in the ocean, so we had access to more salt water than we knew what to do with. Freshwater became an issue, and we had a tank for fresh water for showers and washing dishes and washing our hands and drinking and all of the things. But we went through our water supply real fast, and then that made us think about, okay, how much, first of all, yes, we can get more fresh water. And we did. It was not like we were going to die of thirst. That was never an issue. But it did make us think about what do we really need water for, right? I have always been guilty, unfortunately, of being the person who runs the water while I'm washing my hands. And even though that is a lot of water gets wasted that way. So that is something I stopped doing while I was on that boat. It was get the hands wet, turn off the water, soap and lather up, get the soap in there, scrub a dub because I did used to work in a nursing home back in the day. So I know how long it takes to really, really get in there and clean those hands. And I don't want to leave water running that whole time. And I should not be doing that on land, but I really was not going to do that on a boat where it was really driven home to me. Like we have a limited amount of water. We started looking at this in other ways too, in terms of buying gallons of water that were kept separately in the boat that then became our drinking water, our coffee making water. When we were washing dishes, we had a faucet for salt water and a faucet for fresh water. And we realized there's a lot we can do with salt water. We don't want to necessarily eat or drink off anything that has been rinsed in salt water and then put away. But you can wash it in salt water and soap it up and wash it again and rinse the soap off. And then you just need the fresh water to rinse off the salt water. And that's it. Controlling the flow was another one, right? We didn't need a ton of fresh water to rinse those dishes, just not a trickle either, but somewhere in between, a happy medium was really all it took. So I want you to think about this in terms of your content is where can you streamline? Again, also being on a boat, space was limited, right? Outlets were limited for some reason. So we had a kitchen we could use. They gave us all the appliances to use in the kitchen, but I think there were only two outlets. So we had to take turns. Sometimes we had to unplug the coffee maker so we could make toast and vice versa. So sacrifices had to be made. I had a cabin with, I think, one drawer and one little space to hang stuff up. So that's it. That's your storage space. That is everything that you have for a whole week. So really think about what is it that you need and what can stay at home for a week. So I want to drill this home in terms of content. What is absolutely necessary? What do you need to get the message across to your audience? What is the content that is necessary and what's just fluff? That means you need to get really clear on what that message is and why it's so important. And then you can kind of reverse engineer it so that you can then communicate it clearly and efficiently. Because again, we are all limited on time. Yes, there's tons of value in longer content, but not longer content that's long for the sake of being long, or longer content that's long because it has a bunch of fluff in it. If it's going to be long content, it's because it's really in depth and it's covering everything your audience needs to know about that topic. That's why it's so super long. It's not long because you filled it with a bunch of stories that have nothing to do with the point that you're trying to make, or because you added a bunch of words that don't really need to be there. It is amazing once you start looking critically at your content and what words, like seriously, get down to each individual word. Does this need to be there? I will tell you the word that is a word that is way overused and frequently does not need to be there without any substitutions. Just take it out of there entirely. That is something that once I became aware of that trick, I have been focusing on that. And every time, does this really need to be there? And sometimes it is a matter of coming back and reading it and saying, yeah, it really needs to be there. Or going, no, it doesn't change anything to not have it there. So edit is my other tip. And make sure that everything you are saying needs to be there. That is it. That is my tip for you today. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. You can get more information like this over on my website, which is AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. You can reach me directly at info@avwritingservices.com. That is it. Have a great week and happy blogging.